get stories.
Okay, I got it.
Let's go. Let's go.
We got it. We got it. We got it here. Welcome to the Real Spin on Tennis. You tennis nuts out there, we're all happy to have you. And we got a great, phenomenal show tonight. I just can't wait. So let's just rock and roll right now. Juniors are over. College is done. So now what to do to keep having fun? Hard work and sacrifice, no fortune or fame. The journeyman plays for the love of the game. Let's welcome tonight's guests. Any player would love such a feat as the lowest ranked man to beat Pistol Pete. Producer, tennis star, good friend of mine for a long time, and producer of The Journeyman and the superstar of The Journeyman, Mark Kyle, The Journeyman. Hey, Mark.
Hola, hola, and aloha. Thank you very much. What an intro. I'm impressed. You're Edgar Allan Poe.
Nice.
Yeah, I got it.
I'm going to continue. His game and attitude are as huge as his accent. My Argentine friend and great player himself and great coach, Javier Lanes. Javier, nice to see you.
Thank you, man. Thank you. A pleasure to be here with you guys. I'm enjoying it. I want to hear some of the Mark Hill stories, and of course, Ted and you, but Mark especially.
All right. Nice. Yeah, I just want you to say hello. That's it.
No problem. Sounds good. My pleasure.
His tennis career has got a huge future, but it's all behind him. Broudy student partner in crime and head of security at Ted Jones World, Ted Jones.
What's up, guys? I don't know who Gabriel Schwartz is. Gabriel, I don't know if you're supposed
I don't
to
either.
in this live, dude, but it looks like we've got all right, it looks like we just had a half naked guy in the chat for a second.
I don't know what that was about.
But you know what? Technical live difficulties. Good to see you all. Let's get to it, Jack.
Well, guys, we're talking about journeyman players. All we ever hear about is Djokovic and Nadal and Federer and and Sabalenka and whoever, Iga. But you really don't hear. And when they do TV shows like Breakpoint, it's about the stars. But you don't hear about all the other people that make the tournament happen. And those are the guys that, are fighting to win these ATP points. They're traveling the world, living in crappy hotels and, practicing their heart out, just to, first break 1,000, I guess, get a couple of points to break 1,000 and move on into it. So tonight's show is really near and dear to me because I know a lot of people. I've got a student out there right now, Warren, just texted me a couple of days ago from Africa. He's over in Africa trying to get a point. He's got 6 tournaments over there. Last year, I think he won 2 points over there, maybe 1 point. And he's back to win some more. They're just grinding. Talk about grinders just to get into the show. So that's really the first question I want to ask today is, Mark, let's start with you. What's it like to, when you think of me as yourself as a journeyman, what do you think? How would you describe yourself or the journeyman tennis player?
Well, in my opinion, the definition of a journeyman tennis player is someone ranked between 100 and 300. I'm going to be generous, 400, who's barely breaking even on the tour, and then everybody else from 400 to and then the 15,000 that have 1 point are just waiters trying to be actors in LA, going to, if they become extras, on Magnum PI, then that's too good. That's good. But they're not, in my opinion, professional tennis players. But listen, I was there. I tried. I had to work. I broke my foot and I came back. I dropped to 800. I got points in college. It's just very difficult to move up. And I think a journeyman tennis player is someone between 100 and 400 who's barely making it. But other than that, people after that, it's tough. It's a brutal business. It's like you're trying to survive and you're trying to make it, and you're going to these tournaments and you have housing. And if you don't have financial backing, it's very, very difficult, but that's nothing wrong with that. It's like you got to break. It's like being an intern. So I consider from 400 to 1200, and then all the persons, they're interns, they're trying to make it. And to me, the hardest thing, people ask me, okay, what do you think about the tour? What's the hardest thing about the tour? Oh, is it traveling? Oh, or the expenses? Oh, I don't have enough money. Or is it injuries, or I'm injured? Well, to me, it's three-letter word, win. If you're not winning and improving over time at the futures level, challenger level, then it's probably not going to happen. So it's very difficult, and there's nothing wrong with that. Then you go on and do something else, but it's just brutal. And I gave you some photos from Nigeria that we can post later. I've had some interesting situations, but it just takes time and it's hard. But we got the comedian Ted, who played at UConn, who had all the gear, and Javier, who tried it. It's very difficult, but there's nothing wrong with that. So you're a waiter and you're in LA trying to be an actor. There's nothing wrong with that. And it takes time unless you're a Pete Sampras.
Yeah, I agree. When you love the game, I mean, you're always glad you tried. And if you're a musician, you got to try there. I agree 100%. Javier, nice to see you, my friend.
Nice to see you, man. Nice to see you.
You're looking good. You're looking good.
Yeah,
Bring the camera down a little bit.
I have a wife that is 9 years younger. I gotta look good, man. Otherwise, the poor guy is gonna come in. You know what I mean? I gotta keep it as solid as I can. So
let me ask you, how long did you play? I mean, how many months or years did you?
I'll tell you my story. It's very simple and very short. And so basically, when I was 18 years old, I graduated from high school. My parents said, you gotta go to school. I said, I don't want to go to school. I want to play tennis. At that time, I was top 10 in Argentina. So my parents said, I give you, she goes like, I give you 6 months to go to Europe, play some tournaments in France, see how it goes. Okay? I give you money, you can do 6 months, and then that's it. You go back to college. Before you even do that, you got to get into law school. So I get into law school, I go to play for 6 months. Okay? I basically get my ass kicked. Many things happen, but I feel like I get my ass kicked. I come and say, you know what? I'm going to try a little more with a few money tournaments in Argentina, try to get my feet wet, okay? I'm 19, okay? I'm getting to 19. In one of those tournaments, things are not going well. I end up, because, I'm a kid with a racket, I end up lining up a chick that is super hot. She's 9 years older than me. I say, fuck this. You know what? This is too hard. I'm 19 at the time. This is too hard. I don't think I don't want to do tennis. I think I'd rather bang this chick and be in tournament than be playing tournaments and suffering here. Okay? So that's my first quit. I'll tell you, that's my first quit. I come back, I say, you know what? I want to go to college. That's my first time I quit. I go back to school. I start teaching tennis. And I decided, you know what? I can't do this. I'm not good at school. I'm gonna go back and try to get into college, because when I was in France, I met a couple of guys that were playing at Pepper, and I said, dude, you can go in America and get college. So that's how I end up in the US. Okay. So at the time, at 21, one semester in the US, I finished the first semester after playing. A friend of mine, he goes like, let's go play some futures. Dude, I haven't played ever future. I don't think I'm good enough. I only play in France and all that. He goes, let's go play. So first tournament I go to play, I get ATP points right away. First tournament. So I get to the quarterfinals.
Nice. Awesome. Awesome.
So basically, but to make it long story short, so what happened is I was so happy when that happened, but I lost to a guy in quarterfinals, Marc Giquel. Marc Giquel got to top 50 in the world, okay? So he's fucking smoking before we play the match, after the match, and I was grinding. This is 6-3, 6-4 in the third. I finish, I lose. So I called my parents, and my mom was like, what do you think? I said, listen, this is the best feeling ever. I got points on the first tournament, but I just don't think I got what it takes. So because I'm in Morocco with a friend of mine, I played 2 more futures. The last future there, I had to play my body on the first round, the guy that I've been leaving for the past 2 months. So I give him the match, I let him pass, and that was it. That was it. And I never went to play futures ever again until after I start working again. I played 2 more seasons in France. And age 27, 28, I went to play futures again when I was teaching tennis and whatnot. And I got points again and close to getting points. So it's a little bit different story. I didn't think I had what it would take, to tell you the truth.
I think that's the same. That is the same for me. Once I played the tour called the Watch Tour in Florida. Actually, Johan Creek and I think John Eagleton, the 2 of those guys were dominating. And I just realized after those 6 tournaments or 7 tournaments, I said, you know what? You guys are just too good. They're younger than me and they're already better. And there's something special they do. And I don't think any amount of hard work was good. I love being in shape. That's a great thing. I mean, that's another thing, Mark, when you say it's no crime to play the tour and be ranked 1,000, you get in great shape, the best shape of your life. And you know what? There's something to be said for saying, hey, when I was in all my 20s, I really went for it. I was in great shape. And maybe that's the reason I'm still alive today. Because, you know, I fucked up after that. But I mean, certainly when I was playing tournaments, I was just, you know, a vegetarian, you know, really trying to stretch, do yoga every day. So I think you're right. I think it's good for you, Mark. You know what I mean?
Well, no question. I'm not saying that listen, my tennis evolution was 167 singles, 32 doubles. I didn't make top 100 in singles, but moving up and playing on the futures, I was very fortunate. I had 30,000 a year to keep going, and I played every week. And it's tough when you don't have any finances to keep going, but you just got to just keep grinding, and it's very difficult. I mean, you can't. You play 2 or 3 tournaments, you get points. But then if you got to go back and teach tennis to make the money to go on the next trip, it's right. It's a brutal battle, and but it's still, when you're there and you're playing, you're still having a great experience like Javier did, and then he got a scholarship to Drury University, and now he's a great coach in Chicago. Listen, it's all stepping stones. It doesn't matter at the end of the day, you know.
So,
you have your friends.
Yeah, so to me, you know, and I would say one thing that because to tell you the truth, you know, even on my second tournament and third tournament, when I'm playing, because I consider those first 3 tournaments that I was trying to play, man, on Saturday night, I wasn't the guy, to tell you the truth, that I could stay home. I was begging prostitutes. I mean, I was the man. Okay? And I've been, so I, you know, to tell you the truth.
I mean, you don't hear any of us. You don't hear any of us saying, "Whoa, no, that's terrible."
You can cut that stuff. You know, you can cut that stuff if you want. But I'm just giving you an example. You know, because I was thinking after, you know, we talk. I was thinking, and many times, you know, I would say, why? I just wasn't the guy. You know, I did too many things the wrong way since the get-go. You know,
I mean, I get you. I get it.
Mark,
Tennis was just.
Mark, I wanted to ask: was there anything during the early '90s that somebody who was like 300 in the world that they were able to make money a different way besides teaching tennis, or was that the only way you can make money bbesides making money in tournaments? If you're 300,
play guitar and sing, if you had it.
Well, most of the players that got to 300 had some sort of backing. It's not easy to get to 300, as you guys know. It's not easy to get to 800. So they had some financial backing to be able to go every week. It's like you being a comedian, in my opinion. I could be wrong. You have a gig every week, and to make it, it's hard. You have to show up at the Comedy Store, and you got to do it every week. But if you're doing it 1 week a month, are you a comedian or not? It's hard. So, and I'm sure the tennis is transferred over to your unbelievable comedian career, but I think the guys that are 300, right? Well, in the 90s, it was different. It wasn't as much money, but someone was helping them to be able to pay the bills every week. But on the futures, if you weren't improving and you weren't getting better and you weren't winning matches, there was a lot of guys that just stagnated between 800 and 15,000 who just showed up because they were mentally fucked up and they should get their real job and just move on.
Right,
That's
right.
right.
Well, Ted, tell me, as a guy who's, been in the top 1,000 and banged a lot of prostitutes, what do you think, about these journeyman players? And even though you didn't do it, is it kind of how you feel like you're on? Because you're the same age these guys were, right? You're the same age they were when they were trying to make it on tour, and you're trying to make it on the comedy tour. You see any similarities? I'm just curious.
Well, I think that it's definitely like a day-to-day thing. Like you're always kind of focused on what's going on that particular day. That's how you pull an insane win out and beat Pete Sampras. You know what I mean? You always got to be locked in and ready for that opportunity. So I think that, when Javier realized he wanted to go back in 27, 28 because he really loved playing tennis, and playing on the tour specifically. It probably wasn't to make money, And I think that being a comedian, you're doing it for the love of the game, man. If you have to go and do some corporate gigs, you'll do that if that pays the money for the week or whatever it is. I think that you really have to do it for the love of the game, because there's a lot of times where it just feels brutal. And the people who are successful are the people that just have the most brutal times and keep getting up back on that horse. You know what I'm saying, JB?
Yeah.
My question for Ted is it harder to become a comedian or a professional tennis player who to make a living? Which is harder?
I think that if you start playing tennis when you're 5, 6, or 7 years old, you have a significant advantage over somebody who starts when they're 10, 11, or 12 years old. And I think that comedy, the longer that you're in it, if you're in comedy for 10 years, you will have a better chance of becoming successful than if you're just in tennis for 10 years. I'll say that.
Dude, when you were playing with me and you were in the 14s and the 16s, you had started your comedy career back then.
I guess.
I mean,
bro.
obviously,
you
obviously got most of your sense of humor from the coach, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. But all right, let's move on. The mind stays focused when battling your foes, but when you look in the mirror, you
JB's got no hose.
Yeah, that's right. You face your highs and your lows. So, gents, let me ask you. It's a night for prostitutes. That's great. Equal opportunity. Diversity. We have diversity here at the Real Spin. Javier, let me ask you. There must have been a time where you looked in the mirror and you're like, "This is the greatest time of my life," and in the same breath, there must have been the worst time in your life.
I mean, I think, again, Jack, I mean, I think, when I was thinking today as we were talking, when you realize what the opportunity that I got at that time, I didn't realize it, I didn't realize it, man. It's 10 in the morning. I have to just go to practice for 3 hours. I'm going to be practicing for freaking 3 hours. Now, I didn't realize the amazing things that you get, to tell you the truth. I think, and honestly, I wanted to take everything out of life. I was going to tournaments. I wanted to see places. It wasn't just at some point, it wasn't just the tennis. There were too many things. And to tell you the truth, I think I didn't have the level. Personally, even though I got points right away.
Yeah, but Javier, sorry, don't mean to interrupt, but having the mindset of being somebody who's top 10 in Argentina and practicing with the guys who are 1 and 2 in Argentina, was it just that you didn't want to, or your talent level?
Listen, man, listen. I mean, I don't know how it is I think it's different. But where I grew up, they don't tell me that I'm amazing. We don't grow up telling you, "Hey, man, you're amazing." You know what I mean?
Well, and bro, I was no different. Maybe JB, you were on that, bro.
So that what I will tell you. You know, I give an example. That I will tell you something in the juniors, one match. So in juniors in the 18s, I basically lost 2 times in a row to Chela in 3 sets. Okay.
Hold on. Was he taking
Yes.
steroids at that time? Was he still juicing it up? He
No,
got
man,
banned.
no, listen. But the funny thing is, I get a record and I tell to my coach at the time, I say, man, this guy fucking sucks. I cannot believe how I lost. Well, a year and a half after, that guy is fucking 200 in the world. And I'm thinking, what the fuck, how that shit is possible? You know? But I think, you know, again, you know, you gotta believe. I didn't have it, you know. I was a mess, man. I was a mess. I didn't have it, you know. Like I said, somebody said many times, they asked me, oh dude, could you have been better? And I always said, you know what? If the queen will have balls, will be a king, but he doesn't have balls. So it's a queen. So I think I did what I could and how I could, you know.
You know, you're a little bit the Latin version of my friend Barry Buss. A little bit.
It just, yeah, I mean, it just, you know, it just wasn't, you know what I mean? He was what he was. You know?
I do appreciate with the accent. I really do appreciate you want to get all you can out of life. You know, he's Scarface. I love that. That's great.
He looks like Pacino, kind of.
Yeah, that is totally Pacino, man. I like it. Very good.
It does look like him.
And Mark, let me ask you something. Mark, how about you? We're all waiting for the story. I know your high point. Why don't you tell us your high point? Because I've heard it, and it's a fun story. And just keep it down to a couple, 3 minutes. But it's a great story.
Well,
you have the high point of all. You have the high point of all of us.
Well, I think, to be honest, you're probably talking about the Sampras match, but to be honest, but thank you for asking me that question. It makes me feel good because I'm a bellman right now, and they're not asking that, and I carry people's bags at a hotel, which is great. I'm semi-retired, but to me, even bigger, to me, I feel more proud of qualifying twice for Wimbledon in singles in 91 and 93, beating some good players, Brian Shelton, Tim Tregello.
Yeah.
And I lost first round to 2 British guys. I feel more proud of, because you got to win 3 matches. The Sampras was great, but you know, it was kind of, it was great. No, Sampras was great, but I think qualifying twice for a major, to me, I'm more proud of, and not that anyone cares, but
I care.
Bigger. And then I went around at the Aussie in 93 in singles, and then I lost second round. But of course, Pete was but thank you. Yeah. But to me, my favorite story was qualifying, and they called me Big Dance because when I qualified, I yelled out, I'm going to the big dance. And at Wimbledon, yeah, that's what the guy that I beat, Ellis, I said, I'm going to the big dance. And so he keeps texting me, Big Dance. So that was my nickname, because. When I qualified, I was going nuts and yelling, I'm going to the big dance. And
nice.
Unfortunately, I played 2 British guys. I had great fucking draws. And I lost to Mark Petchey in 4 sets and Nick Brown. And I wanted to play Agassi on center. I did get on center in a mixed doubles match, but no one who cared mixed doubles. But it was fun. But yeah, it would have been great to play. But those guys were good. I mean, Mark Petchey's the commentator on ESPN. The guy was a good top 100, great serving volleyer. Nick Brown, knock-knee Nick Brown. He was tough. He beat me in. But I don't know, man. But thank you. Yeah, the best, to me, my favorite moment of my small little tennis career compared to your guests like Johan Kriek, who I played, was qualifying twice for the Big W.
Yeah. I guess I can see that. Yeah, you're right. Because one's just a win, but getting to a major, that's something, that's a major thing. That's not just one win. You have to grind to get there.
Nice, JB, yeah.
From Albuquerque. But listen, I'm like Javier. He thinks he doesn't have no idea. Or Ted, I'm sure Ted being in the comedy world, as far as just going out and doing crazy things on the tour at the future levels, I would like if you could pull up the photos of Nigeria that I sent you to make it. 'Cause listen, I was very fortunate. I had money behind me to play every week, and if you can pull up the photos of Nigeria, there were $25,000 challenges. That got me from 700.
You mean like that one right there?
Yeah, there
That
was no
one?
showers. There was no showers in Nigeria. There was at this hotel that we stayed in.
Hey, Mark, do you have any shots where you turned around and did a 180?
Well, that was in the Journeyman, which you've seen, which is I haven't had a relationship in many years due to
Mark, also, where can we find the Journeyman now? Can you let the listeners and viewers know?
Thank you, Ted. Appreciate it. It's at Vimeo.com, the Journeyman 1 and Journeyman 2. You can rent it for $2. I'm so cheap. I still put it up there, but I'm going to send you a copy if you want one. It's at Vimeo.com, the Journeyman, but at Vimeo, Journeyman 1 and Journeyman 2. And there's a couple photos. Yeah. I mean, Nigeria was the fucking...
How about this one with the burrow?
That was Scott Patridge, played at USD, great player. So we got, listen, back in the 90s, I was ranked like 450 and I got into a couple challengers in Nigeria and I brought a bag full of food, and Murphy Jensen, he's got this recovery business in Seattle. Great guy.
Yeah, he's been on the podcast with Jack before. We've seen him.
Exactly.
Yep.
So I brought it. I brought a big bag of food, and I was like the convenience store. They'd come to my room, and I was selling shit, but then I started feeling guilty. And I had like milk and cereal. And let me tell you, Nigeria is the most corrupt country in the world. You go through when you're getting out of there and you're going through the airport and you're putting your bags on the conveyor belt through the security, they're like, do you have anything for me? And I'm like, what do you mean? So you give them a tennis ball or you give them $5. I mean, I don't know if these guys have been to Africa. I'd like to know where Ted, we got to talk more about Ted's professional tennis journey.
Well,
where did you play? Where did you play?
You started talking about Ted. I was going to jump right in with Ted, because when he heard you were, making a living selling big bags, he was like, yeah, I'm on board, brother. Yeah. Money.
Yeah. So it was in Nigeria, it was brutal. I got into some challenges. I won some matches, and that propelled me. But I had to be honest. I was fortunate to be able to play every week. It's like in any position when you're coaching tennis, you need to teach every week 20 hours, and some players can't have that luxury, or they're too immature or whatever. But I still party too much, and like you saw in the film. But these guys, I mean, like. It's great to hear their stories about. I mean, Javier, don't beat yourself up over what you did, because
no, I did what I could. No, I'm cool, man.
I think we're the common people. We're the people. Me too. My doubles partner and I, we partied way too much and screwed around with girls way too much. And I think that's the problem when you're at your best. When you're at your best tennis, you're also in your young 20s, and freedom, you know what I mean? But money, let me ask you real quickly, you've had a 5-year career in comedy. Have you suffered a high or a low yet? Or would you say it's just been a steady grind? Or have you, really fucked up?
I'd say it's been a steady grind. I've definitely had moments where I've been like, wow, this is dope. But I've also had moments where I've woken up and I've been like, what the hell? Like, this sucks. Like, am I making any progress? And like, that will happen a few days in a row, which is discouraging. And when you look at it on the big scope of things, and you're like, if you look over a career over 10 years, I'm sure you can all tell me that, and you say that there are going to be 3 bad days in a row over a 3,000-day period, you'd be like, all right, well, I can make it past it. But when you're in it and it feels like you're at the top of the mountain, it feels like you're at the top of the mountain. And when it feels like you're super low, feels like you're super low. So I think the best thing is just to do what makes you super happy and realize it's going to have ups and downs. But the best way to be happy is to do what you love, I'm thinking, right?
Wow. Amen. Jeez. Gen Z, baby. Gen Z talking.
I lit up a joint before the pod, so I'm freaking.
I could tell, man. You're getting. I was ready to have a wheatgrass, Slurpee. All right. Well, let let's move on. That's great. That was an interesting segment. I think, I don't know, nobody learned anything, but that's okay. Having some having some fans and having friends on the tour keeps it all fun as you move through the blur of practice and matches, sometimes going through hell as you go back to stay in your crappy motel.
Wait,
So-
JP, question. I know last week you used Chat GPT for these poems. Are these
Mine,
authentic?
all mine, baby.
Is
No,
it yours this
you know
week,
what?
or-
That was just a test. I wanted to see if Chat was better. Chat's not. He's not.
You know what?
He's
I
not
think-
funny. Chat's
They're
not
both-
funny.
they're
I'm
both
fucking
good.
funny.
They're both good, bro.
What do you mean?
Don't put yourself out. Robot you is good. I'm telling
What
you.
what makes me so fucking funny?
Your-
Am I a clown to
your AI
lose you?
Your AI chat GPTs. That's the funny one. Anyway, continue.
The problem with AI is it doesn't have sarcasm. And boom, we're tennis players. You need a little sarcasm. So yeah, tell me about some accommodations, Mark. Tell me about some accommodations you had. Did you ever have to rough it, or were you staying in 5 stars most of the time?
Well, that one photo we just showed was in Nigeria where we had to shower outside. The Nigeria trip was brutal because we flew into Lagos and then we took a bus. They picked us up, thank God. They were challengers, and we drove up to Benin City, and I played in Benin City. There's the outside shower. It was brutal. I mean, but I got 25 points because I got to the finals of the singles and the doubles, and I played in a stadium, and I was the only white guy. I played against a guy named Nduka Odozor from Nigeria in the 90s. He was a top 100 pro, and it was cool, but it was like a little intimidating. But yeah, that was my worst accommodations was in Nigeria. We had rats in the room. But you know, I was in Germany because I was based there for a while, and I flew from Germany to Nigeria. I was main draw of 25s, 2 of them. One 25 in Benin, and then 175, and I lost in the semis to Harhuis, who was just trying to make it. You got to remember Paul Harhuis. He was a great player. Played
I do.
He was great. So that was the worst. But in the States, it was nice. I'm sure these other guys have some more horrifying stories about. I don't know. You know, your boy. I'd like to hear from Warren about his experiences playing in Africa. Where did he go?
Well, he's there right now. It's too late at night. I was going to ask him to show up, but he's sleeping, I'm sure.
Wait,
But
just really quickly, just to interject, Mark, when you played doubles with Goran Ivanisevic,
Yes.
how were your accommodations that time at the Australian Open? And are you still boys with Goran?
That's a great question. I saw him in Miami a few years ago. Actually, after he won, the Journeyman was made, and in 01, and we had our premiere during the tournament where he won Wimbledon, and it was in England. We had it on Channel 5, and I went to it. They had a little bit of a party for it, and then I watched Goran play Patrick Rafter, and then after the match, Goran, I saw him in the locker room because I had a badge. I was fortunate to get it from Paul Kildare from Australia. So I got a badge, and Goran's like, I want you to come with me to Split. I'm like, what? And I'm like, okay. He goes, meet me at this airport tomorrow. And I went to Rafter's party, and then I went to Goran up in the Wimbledon Village, and then I went to even Ivicevic's party. And so then I met him at the airport, and it was a DC-10, and it was 6 people, him, his coach, his agent, myself. We flew from London on.
nice.
He was friends with McLaren, with the McLaren family, and the guy that owns McLaren, his wife at the time was Croatian, and so the family let him use the DC-10. So we fly a DC-10 into Split, and there was 300,000 people waiting, and I was like, this is out of control. We fly in, and there's 7 of us on this DC-10, except for the press in the back, about 10 guys. We get off. It's like the Beatles. I ended up staying a month. It was incredible. And he picked me up every like 4 or 5 days and hang out. he's a very generous guy, but he's also, you know, when you're from those countries, he's rough around the edges. I saw him in Miami a few years ago, but he was so kind, and he won Wimbledon because the guy is a great guy, and so is Rafter. I was so fortunate to spend, unfortunately, because I spent the month in Split, Croatia. When I went back to Stockholm to see my wife, she immediately kicked me out, and I got divorced, unfortunately. And so that's what ended it, but there's other circumstances for that. But it was a great experience. I flew from London after the Wimbledon final with Goran to Split, and then he had this ceremony where he got all naked in front of the whole city, and it was great. But I don't have his number, and I haven't talked to him in a long time. I haven't talked to him since about 7 years. I just want to let him go because he knows when we get together, things get a little crazy. And no, he's a class act. So was Rafter. Thanks for the question, Ted.
Yeah, you know, that's
Also,
great.
you
That
know, a beautiful moment that I will say, Mark, I do a vlog that I release every Tuesday and Friday. And like the beauty of the vlog, like you literally vlogging, sitting on the court with Goran during your match in the Australian Open is the craziest thing ever. Mark is literally on the bench. He's like, what are we going to do here, man? They just lost the first set. Goran's like, I don't know. We're playing like shit. I don't know what we were going to do. We don't have to win the serve. It's just like the most authentic, just, you know, Javier knows what I'm talking about. And obviously it was just one of the cooler things, man. So like you were the first vlogger. You were the first guy to do it. It was very cool.
Javier, I'm almost afraid to ask, you know, about your accommodations. I really am afraid to ask, but let's go ahead and let's throw it out there.
So no, I mean, like I said, you know, probably Mark have heard about this because a lot of Argentinians, when they want to play, they don't get any support from anybody. So what they do is they play in France, they play in Germany club, they play in Italy club, and they save money and they go and put it on the futures or the challengers at that time. Satellites. Back in the day, they were satellites.
Right.
So I mean, when you do the things that you do in France, you know, they give you accommodation. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes you get small hotels. Sometimes you sleep in a tent. You know, I think it's all different. You know, for me, an example to kind of throw me off after kind of doing it in college here, I say, what the heck am I going and sleeping on a fucking tent when I'm playing for this college and I get everything set up? You know, it just made it harder. You know, for me to want to do it. And again, I didn't think that, you know, I think I could play up to 400 because for me, every player until the 400 plays the same way.
Yeah.
Now, when you get to to challengers, it's a little higher level. I think the challengers are a little better. Now, when you go to 200 to 70 in the world, it's a different level. And then from 70 down is another level. So, but I think 400, you know, it's like it's the same shit over and over. You know, that's what I felt. You know, that's why what Mark says, you know, I'm good friends with Nalbandian. You know, we grew up together.
Wow.
So I asked him and I said, because he's younger than me. So I said, how long it took you to pass the futures? And he goes like 5 weeks. Because when you have the level, I mean,
that's exactly what I'm thinking. You know, I mean, guys come up like Borg and you watch them just go like this straight up because they have the talent. And that's I think that's what we all finally realize, you know, because it's not an easy life. So I think we finally realize there's just more talented people out there. And I don't care if you're one of those guys who's 800 to 1,000 and you're grinding every day and you're working out and pumping iron, or if you're in the same 700 or 800 to 1,000 and you're partying every night, it kind of doesn't matter because it's the guys in the top 100, let's say, that have all the talent, whether they party or not. Agassi partied. I mean, some didn't, some did. You know what I mean? It honestly, it comes down to talent. It really does. It comes down to
yes, but I think, you know, again, I don't know how kids kind of grew up through the whole system here, but I would say, you know, talent it's tough to say what's talent You know, I've seen some guys to get to 250 that I think they suck. They suck. You know, I play, for example,
who's an example, Javier? Who do you think sucks?
Nick Monroe. I played Nick Monroe, probably Nick Monroe.
Yeah.
I play him in an open. He sucks. I play him, you know, fucking, he asked me, he's like, I play him 4-6-4 in the tournament. He goes like, what's your ranking? I said, dude, I got only a couple of points and I'm teaching tennis every fucking week, you know? And because if you don't, but you can grind it out, but you're going to hit 350 top. You're going to hit 350 top.
That's what I think. Yep.
If your ball doesn't move, you know, you're not going to go more than 350. Now, I think, you know, like I said, you know, Challenger and ATP 1000, it's a different level. You know, it starts picking up and just gets better. But I think you have to have a skill. And I don't know, you know, again, you know, it's, I think Mark could answer this better, but I don't know how he was training through those times, you know, but I didn't have somebody I could trust that tells me, okay, how should I do it? Or how much should I push? I have no idea of that. You know, I was a little lost between 18 and 22. I would say.
You know, Mark and I used to play, and tell me if I'm wrong, Mark, but Mark and I used to play, and just shot for shot, we could play together, no problem. I think the difference, and I played him when he was 40 or 35, you know, not on the tour anymore, and he was really having fun, and we were having fun. Remember, Mark? We were having fun, but I thought to myself, well, 15 years ago, this guy's bigger than me and stronger than me. So I think you can grind. And so what I'm saying is, and not to be offensive, but Mark was like us. He was a grinder, but he was bigger than us. And I think it helps to have size when you're a grinder. But I kind of agree with you. If you want a good strategy to be a great player, hit a better ball. Is that what you're trying? I mean, that's what I feel like. If you want a strategy or a good strategy, hit a better, you know.
I agree. As far, I mean, again, let's talk. My career was 167 singles, 32 doubles. I wasn't like
right. So you got it. You broke in that top.
Yeah,
200.
well, I broke top 200, but I was a serve and volleyer. But the thing that I had that was pretty okay was just because of my German parents came from Germany. Was I would practice 4 hours a day, and I got better and I improved. I worked on my forehand. My forehand was atrocious. And I worked on my baseline game, and I worked on my doubles, and but I would just work every day, 4 hours a day, just like those good Argentinians. Listen, you got those guys like Gumi, Hernan Gumi. They were practicing, Javier. Like
I know.
I played on a team with Gumi, and the guy is amazing. I mean, so you guys from those countries where there's not much. They practice every day, 6 hours.
A lot. Yes, I mean a lot. You know, I mean honestly, I mean I think you know you have to, but I think you have to have some skill, or you gotta know. I think if I would go back, you know, to that age, I will figure out to see if I could have somebody that tells me how much you need to push. You know, because you don't know. You know, I mean, to me, I think in. A lot of times in things in life, I wouldn't say in tennis, it's like with a chick. You can fucking go and talk to a woman for 10 years. She's not going to look at you. All of a sudden, dude, you don't look at her and she's fucking in love with you and you don't understand why now. I think there is some of that in this thing, but you don't know when that thing is going to tilt. But you have to have this skill. And I think personally, I didn't have it when was my prime age between 18 and 22. I don't think I have it. I was a grinder. I needed extra and I didn't have it. I don't think I have it. You know what I mean? That's why I quit. That was me, you know, but everybody's different, you know.
That sort of brings me into our last block here. It's been too much fun. I would like to do it. I think we should just keep going, but let's do it. Whether you're short, Ted, or whether you're tall, there are those out there that just hit a better ball. It's all fun and games and a pleasure to play. But when is it time to call it a day? So you know what? You're leading us right into the next segment here, which is when do you call it a day? But Ted, I'm going to start with you because you called it a day before you ever hit the tour. You played 2 years of college, and I know how you play because I worked with you for all those years. Play a good game, but you quit in college, which is, to a lot of kids would be unheard of. How could you want to possibly quit once you worked your ass off in the juniors, make the team? Now you're on the college team and, all the chicks dig you, you're top 6. And, so you quit before it started. What was the night? When was the night or the day that you said to yourself, it's over?
I think it was when it was after the seniors on the team graduated. So it was like the last match of my sophomore season. We had like a really tight knit team. There were 6 seniors on the team. There was 1 junior a year ahead of us. And then I was not close with anybody on the team. And the whole camaraderie of college tennis was a lot of what I just wanted to be a part of. I always loved socializing and being part of that brotherhood. But I wanted to do other things in college, and we weren't around a top 50 program. Like there weren't matches that really were kind of lighting up my future in terms of like what I wanted to do in tennis. Like there were acting classes I wanted to take. There were improv classes. There were a lot of things that tennis taking up 30 hours of time a week and then traveling on weekends. And it's like, what am I doing this for? Yeah, it's great to play college tennis, but I think after about 2.5 years, I was kind of like, all right, this semester I want to try certain things that will, make me happier in a future chapter of my life. You know what I mean?
I see.
I think it was also that I was playing at a Division I level where we weren't at the top of the pack. And all you guys probably know, in order to get a lot of attention in college tennis, you got to be playing for the Georgia Bulldogs, Duke Blue Devils, Florida Gators. And then that's when you start to get the fans and actually camaraderie around the whole school in tennis. So I was a little bit of a little fish in a little pond in tennis. So I wanted to pursue other things.
Yeah, I get it. Well, you didn't have there. I think the 3 of us, tell me if I'm wrong, but we're dreamers. I think we were dreamers, right? I mean, Mark, let me ask you, Mark, you agree with that, right? We were dreamers, but then let me ask you, what was the night or the day that you looked in the mirror and you said to yourself, fuck, I'm done. I can't do it anymore. Was there a time that came like that, or did you hurt yourself?
Yeah. When I made the film, and I had dropped to 140 in doubles. And it was just like, I had made a living for a few years from, I had the sponsor and then I bought a house. I had the whole nice, and then at the end at 32, unfortunately, I was not working as hard as I had done before with the 4 hours a day. And I just said, yeah, it's done. And I shouldn't have done that. It was all because of the stupid documentary. If I wouldn't have made that and had this hobby idea, I could have kept playing like these doubles guys till I was 38 and made more money because I was still top, 140, you can get back in. And I was still top 100 for a few years in doubles. But yeah, then it just hit, but I was exhausted because I was doing everything. I had a wife in Sweden who dumped me at the end of my career because there was no more player badges to the Wimbledon tournaments, and she wanted to move on. And she was a gold digger, and I'm just kidding. That's terrible.
Yeah, a beautiful blonde from Sweden. Get out of here! Heck, you say.
Hey, you believe it.
But anyway, so there was a time, but at 32, it's young. There's guys now. I should have just. My dad and the alcohol came into play. I was drinking too much and partying too much, and just thinking, okay, I can show up and play. No, there's younger guys coming up. Yeah, and that's when I made the film. It was a catharsis about life on the tour. The last 2 years, I was going through a divorce, and there was a time, and then I just said, I'm done. And then I realized that I could have maybe played more, and then that's a whole nother story.
Well, Teddy, that's interesting because he actually had a similar story to you. I mean, you're in college and you go, I want to do something for my future. And it sounds like that's what Mark was doing was, I'll make this documentary and show people what it's like, sort of like his own Netflix, really. Breakpoint, here's what it's like for those of us grinding. And then that sort of that took over a little bit, Mark? Just
Totally. My hobby took over. It was aired in 11 countries, but a documentary, you don't make any money. And then I was like, okay. But I just was tired. I was exhausted. At that time in the 90s, early 2000s, players who were retiring early, they didn't keep going like they do now.
To be honest, I feel like the last person that kind of retired a little bit early, around 30, was like Andy Roddick. And then from that point forward, people started to retire a little bit later, right?
Totally. They kept playing, which is smart because they had drug problems and they needed to fulfill their drug problems, so they needed the money. Just kidding.
Teddy, what do you think about that? Do you see his catharsis right there as a, his aha moment? Do you feel it was the same for you in college, just lower level, I guess?
I think lower level because it took me a long time to act on what I really wanted to do in life. As you know, I worked at a real estate company, my dad's real estate company, for like 6 years before
But I heard you were the funniest guy there.
I was the funniest guy there, but it took a lot for me to finally build up the courage to go on stage every night. You know what I'm saying?
Shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm expecting to, I'm expecting to see you fall down one of these days like Chevy Chase. Can you do something in the kitchen there? Can you burn yourself like Inspector Clouseau?
Yes, I'll give you the elevator and then the stairs, all right?
Okay. All right, you're the funniest guy. All right, Javier, not to be beaten out. I know you got a story. First of all, let me ask you: Did you ever have? It was like a come to Jesus moment, or was it sort of over like weeks and months? You said this is no good.
No, man. I mean, like I told you, I quit several times tennis.
Well, we all quit several times, starting at about 12.
Yes. Yeah, no, but Jack, and I will tell you this: there was a coach when I quit the first time that he said this to me, and that kind of stuck in my head. He said to me, "Listen, man, there are players." And the guy coached some big guys in Argentina. He goes, there are some players that quit tennis because they are not good. And there are players that tennis quit them. And if you fucking quit tennis because you think you're not good, every time you get in life in something tough, you're going to want to quit. So that stuck in my head. And I said, you know what? I got to keep pushing a little longer because I didn't want to create the pattern of being sometimes in a tough situation and just pack your bags.
Yeah.
Because I think it's a tough situation, but in life you run into tough situations. Absolutely. And actually I was telling this thing to a player of mine that right now she doesn't want to play any more tournaments. She's a high level player. She could go into a good college, but she goes like, you know what? I feel too much pressure. I don't want to play. And I said, listen, you got to put yourself out there and play, because if you're struggling and you're avoiding the challenge, it's going to set up a pattern in your life. So I think it was a little challenge for me. That's why I will try to take it back until I could not do it really. But again, I love tennis, man. I'm crazy about it. I was, and again, I had crazy memories, even at a much lower level than Mark, not with guys so high of a level, but I think the scenario of trying to do something and not really doing it the best you can, it's always a good learning experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's that to me. I don't take anything back, I wish I have done it longer when I was younger, but I just didn't believe in me that I could do it. You know what I mean? It's just I didn't think I was gonna make it on TV. And in Argentina, man, you don't dream too much. You don't dream, it's a little different.
You see, Teddy, in this group here, we don't get participation trophies, It's a whole different world out here in reality, team money.
In reality, that's right. There's no participation. That's right. That's I think that's, you know what I mean? You can't just bullshit your way around. Yeah.
Well, you know,
I don't it was
it's
directed at me, JB. I don't know that.
No, man, you're the young guy here. That's all. I don't know. You know, I think there's a lot of, you know, it's tough to say, you know, now there's an out because, you know, a lot of this pressure talk really is serious, right? Some people really can't handle it and it's a problem. But, Osaka had an issue, this and that. But my God, I always thought when I was playing that I had the biggest psych issue. I always thought I was the biggest chicken shit out there. But then I talked to all my friends and they all say, no, man, I got so nervous I could barely toss the ball. So I just don't know, you know, because nowadays, like I said, some of it's really real, but how much of these people it's not real? How much should they really push through is what I'm asking, you know, or should they just go, oh, I feel pressure, so I'm done because I don't want to lose my mind. I mean, with some people it's real. And I just wonder, we were all brought up to tough it out. You know what I mean? We were brought up to tough it out and say, hey, so what? Pressure, serve through it, suck your way through it, you know, work through it.
That's a whole nother topic, JB, for another episode, right?
It is. But, you know, since I got three intelligent guys here, I thought I'd at least bring it up because it is an issue. Like I said, I always thought there was nobody who got as nervous as I did. So, but I think everyone feels that way.
Bro, you probably remember some of my matches where I legitimately couldn't even hit a ball. And I remember there was a time when there was probably,
of course,
there was like 3 weeks. I played either 3 or 4 tournaments. You were like, dude, I don't know what the deal is. Why you double fault every single time? The first serve of the match, you end up winning, but stop doing it.
Right. I remember. Well, you know, yeah. Well, you know, people don't realize that every time you step on a tennis court, I don't care if it's fucking practice or a match. Every time you step on a court, you put your heart on the line. Every time you can be humiliated. And that's why I always say pickleball is for quitters because you don't put your heart on the line in pickleball. In tennis, you can humiliate.
If you were born a tennis player, you're not born to play fucking doubles. Okay. When you want to play tennis, you choose it because it's a singles game. So if you fucking go and play doubles, you don't have the fucking balls. That's what I think. You know? Yeah,
you know what? And that's probably why I did so much better in doubles. Probably.
You know, I mean, honestly, I suck at doubles, but I'm gonna tell you, if you play tennis, you play tennis because it was individual. You know what I mean? That's the reality. I mean,
I agree. I agree.
I think, you know what I mean? I think, you know, and I choke and like crazy, no question about it. But I think we choose this sport because it's individual, but it's tough. But you know what? At the end of the day, dude, we're gonna all die alone. So you better be ready and make sure that it.
You're right.
Bye, guys. It's over.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, let's end it on that, Jack.
I think we will, gentlemen. I was an Teddy. You want to say something real quick?
No. Go ahead, JB.
I was going to say it's been an honor. I told you guys I was looking forward to this. You know, for the 6 or 7 people out there watching, or 100 people, I hope you had as good a time as I did. And you know what? If not, you know, I'm not going to pay these guys. No, I'm seriously. We do this because we love it. Even this tonight, right? I got a wife going, when are we going to have dinner? Right? I mean, all that stuff. But we do it because we love the game. You know what I mean? And so I appreciate you guys coming on. I was looking forward to this because journeymen to me are the real deal. Look at that arm. Look at that tendonitis on the arm. Gentlemen, I love you guys. Listen, thanks to tonight's guests and thanks for tuning in. Mark Kyle, the journeyman. Check it out. Where can he? Mark, tell him where they can see it again.
Vimeo.com, Vimeo.com.
I just rented it, guys, and I'm looking forward to rewatching it. Mark, this is amazing.
Teddy, you want to go ahead, Mark?
You're the man. You're a comedian. I think I'm a comedian, but it doesn't go well.
Teddy, where are you playing? Where are you playing?
Next Monday, Stanford, check us out. Ted Jones World. It's gonna be freaking lit, Jack.
Wow.
Javier, Mark, you guys are lit. Good to see you guys.
Nice. We're all lit. Javier, you want to do any shameless plugs?
Man, I can't talk like that. I'm not quick enough in my head. All right. It was a pleasure, guys. Peace.
All right. Well, how about if I
All
tell
right,
everybody?
Pablo. All right, Javier, say hello to Pablo Albano for me.
Oh, wow. Listen, interesting.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey,
Bye.
tune in to BrodyTennis.com. See you next week on The Real Spin. Thanks a lot. Check us out on YouTube, like us, subscribe
Oh my
us.
God.